8, 9, 10. How does that sound?
And now we have the real countdown.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Boundary Breakers. This is our 17th episode, if you can believe it.
Wow.
So, shout out to anyone out there that has come back to, be a part of it. So, we've got a great conversation today. We're going to be delving deep into how we can break generational barriers. And we're blessed to be here with Rod Santiago. Say
Hey,
hi.
thank you, Piper. Really glad to be here with you as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And for those of the people in the audience that don't know, Rod is very experienced and involved in community efforts. And we'd love to hear a little bit about what you're, currently involved in and a little bit about Archway Community Services. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I am your host, Piper McLean, and let's get right into it.
Awesome. First of all, want to recognize, acknowledge that we are here. I am on the unceded, the traditional and the ancestral territories of the Stalo peoples. They are the people of the river and have been here since time immemorial. What we recognize perhaps more as the Fraser River here. And specifically for this area, now known as Abbotsford, we're talking about the Methquay, the Tsamath, the Camel, and the Nooksack nations, and super grateful to be on the land, super grateful to be a part of walking out truth and reconciliation as an ally to our cousins here in the community. So Archway has been here for, if you compare like the 14,000 years of the Stalo peoples here to Archway, we've been here for 55 years. And we get to do a lot of fun things. Our vision is justice, opportunities, and equitable access for all. And so, really, when it boils down to it, all the different things that we get to be a part of and do is about making sure, is there access for people? Will there be justice in this community? How can we be a part of walking out opportunities for the people who are here in our community and throughout the valley in this area? So that's anything from, we run over 90 different programs and services, anything from working pre-birth all the way to seniors, and so people of all ages. We walk alongside women in intimate partner violence, and we also support youth who are trying to navigate what life looks like. So, in every circumstance of life that people are in. And then we work with the majority of the immigrant and multicultural and refugee claimant work in the community, all the way to working with persons with a disability. So, helping people to belong. And if we were to boil it down, we're about people helping people in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Yep. And boiled down, that's just the truth of it because as evident in your programs and your reach, you encompass so many different types of people from all different, walks of life into something that's good for the community. So I think that's really important. And I love that you brought up our historical connections to, the indigenous people that have lived on these lands from before Canada was even distinguished as that. So I think it's really amazing, and I can't wait to talk more about this topic with you because that's something near and dear to us here at Love Caravan.
Hmm.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, as the CEO of Archway Community Services, what lessons have you learned that have been effective towards your leadership in the nonprofit sector?
Hmm. Yeah, I think been had the privilege of walking out different roles, whether here at Archway or before, for a few decades now. And so, in terms of the things that I've seen, witnessed, one thing is I'm recognizing how much more complex, how many more challenging issues and intense issues there are for people to be walking through. So that complexity means, in terms of the solutions that we come up with, of being able to amplify people's voices and walk alongside them, that we also need to find different ways of doing things for this to actually make a difference in people's lives and in the lives of community and our provinces, our nation. Uh, to do that, no one agency can do it alone.
Yeah.
So really, if you're going to hear something consistently through the time that we talk together, it is the power of community coming together, the power of collective impact is the only way that we can make a difference. I am part of our orientation of our new staff here at Archway on a regular basis. And one thing that I always say is that at the end of the day, the goal isn't to wave an Archway banner and say, whoa, look at how amazing we are. We did it. The goal is how can we have strong communities? How can we have healthy communities? And the only way to do that is by working together.
I love that. And I feel such a aspect of togetherness in just the philosophy of, your work at Archway. And you were saying you have to walk side by side. So does that entail being more involved in the people that you are serving and aiding rather than just providing support and mechanisms for them to do that? What does it mean to walk alongside them?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's about agency that people have choices. People have a voice. And so it's not about solving things for them. It's not about diving in and having the answer, but it's being able to listen, to ask questions and ask good questions, and then to take the expertise of just an amazing staff that we have here at Archway. Shout out to the team, shout out to our staff and to our like 2,500 volunteers who make things happen. But it's that walking alongside people with wherever they're at, and then providing the resources, providing the opportunity. If some voices are not heard as much as other voices, providing the opportunity to amplify those voices so that people can be moving in the direction they want to be moving in their lives.
I love that. And I feel a sense of equity coming from that. So these voices that are less heard, would you say that these are from the, more minority centered groups in our society?
Yeah. Um, Absolutely. The more vulnerable, more marginalized. Yeah, as society, we are hearing more about justice and equity and diversity and inclusion as uh, touchstones in terms of really what is important in people's lives. And so that whole idea of people feeling included, of there being equity in the way we um, create space for people is absolutely huge to who we are and what we're about, and to our partners, to all
Yes.
to the people that we get to dream with and come up with different ideas. And then sometimes a group like Archway will be leading the charge on some of those. Sometimes we're coming from behind or even from out of the scene. You don't even see us, but how do we support other organizations, other community groups, other people to be able to do the things that they're dreaming about?
Yeah, I noticed that you put so much more focus into what you guys are actually doing rather than, just Archway for the win. I really love that. I feel like, not all organizations do that, and we need more people that can relate on that like mindedness that we just need to come together to
Hmm.
help grow everything.
Yeah, I agree with you, Piper, and I think overall that most groups believe that too, that
Hmm.
it is about um, not any one group having their scorecard and say, hey, look at all that's happened because of us, but having a collective scorecard that says, there is injustice happening in our community. There are moms living with their kids in their cars. There are seniors who cannot afford food for the next day. And it's a choice of do I keep the roof over my head or do I eat? And so what can we do together where it isn't one agency that says these seniors are eating today because of us, but all of us being able to say seniors in our community or Indigenous youth in our community are, or whatever, that it's because we're working on this together that there's more safety, there is stronger health, there's opportunities for yeah, voice.
Yeah. How are you reaching these people? It seems like, they have less access to places to find supports like these. How are you reaching these people that need their voices amplified?
Mhm. Um, as many ways as you can possibly think of. So yeah, we've got an awesome program for youth here, and it's called Foundry. And Foundry is actually happening in almost 30 different places across the province, where a youth with their hard story that they're dealing with doesn't go to one organization, tell their story, and then be bounced to the next organization because they're the wrong topic or the wrong group, and then bounce and then just give up telling your story. So with Foundry, you walk in the door, and in the case of here in Abbotsford, we have 15 different agencies, um, provincial ministries, nonprofit agencies, anything from substance use to doctors and psychiatrists, immediate walk-in counseling, a school where people can graduate despite the mental wellness issues that have prevented them from being able to continue in school, all of that under one roof so that you just tell your story once. And
Yeah.
out of telling that story, then you get connected to all these different people who are on your side and who want to help you succeed. So yeah, that together kind of stuff.
I love that. And that's just a testament to the togetherness of organizations working together. So you've mentioned these different agencies you work with, and that you're constantly working with other organizations in different locations. So I'm wondering if you could highlight an initiative that you're particularly proud of and how it's made a tangible difference in the community.
Okay, well, let's start with one anyway. I'm just so proud of a whole bunch of different things that we get to be a part of. Um, we have a what was the first Housing First initiative here in Abbotsford, and it started about 7 years ago in terms of opening the doors to it. And Housing First is the idea that someone doesn't have to get their lives all cleaned up before they have a right to have a roof over their heads. We twist that around the other way, where everyone has a right to a roof over your head. And once you're actually sleeping at night, rather than the lack of safety and being frozen cold or whatever out on the street, to sleeping at night, then you've got a fighting chance to say, hey, I also want to work on a substance use issue, or I just recognize that I'm not doing really well in terms of my mental stability, and then having a chance to tackle that. So yeah, with Hearthstone, the idea of housing people was a great idea for our community, but for others in the community, it's a great idea, but wrong place. That whatever place we would identify would be just not here.
Yeah.
Um, and community came together. So not Archway, but community came together, whether it was businesses, a whole bunch of different faith groups, um, foundations who lined up at that public hearing that went from 7 p.m. till 1 a.m. in the morning, of people lining up and saying, we believe that people do have a right to have a roof over their heads. And it was a huge battle. Um, it took a lot of work from a lot of people, but and in the end, like we decided as a group that we were going to do this in a way that didn't put anybody else down and didn't point fingers at saying they're the bad guys, we're the good guys in this, but to just say, hey, this is what we believe in, and what's it going to take to get us to the place where people do have this roof over their heads.
Yeah.
And beautiful outcome where didn't work in the first place. There was a second place suggested just when we thought the whole thing had died. And it's been open for 7 years, and there has not been one complaint to mayor and council about Hearthstone, because the staff do an unbelievable job of making sure that there is accountability. And then the residents do an unbelievable job of, this is where I live, and I take care of this place. And so, yeah, just that beautiful kind of working together towards a solution, which
Yeah.
then opened the door for other solutions in our community, where it just became easier to do that rather than always a fight.
Yeah. And what an actionable approach. I like how you emphasize that we're just laying out the information. These are services that we think are necessary rather than, trying to place blame on the people that, could be uh, involved in that, because I feel like that deters a lot of people away from being more involved in their community, and is that feeling of
Mm,
guilt. But we can't change things that have already happened, and we can only go forward. So I think that's a really good approach that would make more people want to be involved in community efforts like this.
thank you. It was also recognizing, as you say that, recognizing that everyone's a neighbor. And some neighbors are because their business is in that location, or some neighbors because the school their kids go to is in that area, or because they live there. But then there's also the neighbors who at this point really need a roof over their heads. And so it's listening to the voices of all the neighbors. It is walking out things like we did a good neighbor committee to
Yeah.
just talk through what those challenges are and what solutions we can come up with together. Um, so that, yeah, it doesn't always have to be the same way.
I love that. And people have all different ideas. You have no idea, literally, what people are going to come up with. And, it could be something that you just haven't thought of before. So I love that you guys really want to hear from the community. And that's something that keeps coming up in our interviews when we, talk about
Mm,
community, is that people just want to feel heard. And to give people an opportunity to do that um, lies grounds for real change.
awesome. I got to check out some of those other interviews that you've done to just be learning stuff.
Oh, you'd love. There are so many amazing people that we've had on the show, and we're so thankful for
Sweet.
anyone who gives their time to talking about important stuff.
Hmm.
So, as you know, Love Caravan, we are highly involved in our senior supporting programs and our intergenerational programming, being a youth team, serving seniors, youth education development, all those amazing things. And this is something that we have in common with you guys at Archway. So, being
Hmm.
that this intergenerational aspect is such a reoccurring theme for you guys, what inspired a focus like that, and all the different groups that you guys are involved in, and what benefits have you observed in fostering these connections between youth and seniors?
Wow, great question. Um, Kind of the first thought that comes to my mind is that if we draw on the strengths and experiences of our own internal team and our volunteers and our board, we have many people who come from different cultures. And so the majority of the cultures around the world recognize the the strength, the reality, the power of intergenerational. So, right from the people who are providing the services, who are reaching out, there already is this accepted norm that you don't kind of silo the world into different age groups, and you do services for youth here, and you do services for seniors here, you do services for women here, but that it is about family, it's about community, it's about connection. And so there already is that kind of natural starting base. Beyond that point is, if we are going to achieve the things that we want, like our mission is fostering community well-being through justice and opportunities, and in order to be able to do those kinds of pieces, then we're going to want to keep exploring, keep trying different things to make that as successful as possible. And the power, when we have our community kitchen, and when grandparents can be in there with little kids and teaching them, or the same with that foundry when youth are with seniors and can be cooking together. um, the bond, the richness of that, everyone benefits from it. When we've got our urban farm where we get to kind of we have an incredible volunteer. Her name's Marina, who just dreamed this whole thing up of how can people get their hands back in the ground and remember the power of growing things. Um, that yeah, when you get school kids and seniors together in that kind of a context, it brings life. I mean, it's such wisdom for the school kids to just be going, "Wow, I never heard that before," but also for the seniors to feel maybe if they're dealing with a lot of isolation and loneliness, which has been such a reality, and particularly since COVID has just tightened incredibly, is feeling like you're part of community and that you've got stuff to give away. And then just being able to laugh at the joy of the kids. So, yeah, just the power of those kinds of things. Another example that kind of comes to mind is that we have Indigenous elders who come into a bunch of our different programs, like a parenting program, and then can speak into, no, you don't want to do it that way. Here's what works. And so being able to draw from the wisdom of Indigenous elders so that we're not losing it and so that we're changing who we are all the time to be way more accessible and inclusive.
I love that. And there is such intrigue in seeing seniors and youth interact because, we are all the same species, we're all people living at the same time, but the lives that they're living are completely different. And, when seniors look back and how they grew up, they always tell the craziest stories. My mom used to have to trek through the Alps and take a canoe and pass a giant bridge with alligators on the way to school, and the older you get, the stories just seem so insane. But imagine how youth stories sound to them. So even just interacting that way is amazing. I've always loved hanging out with people of all different ages, and
Uh,
I always befriended my teachers and whatnot. So I can see the merit in just interacting with people who are at a different stage in life that you are.
yeah, I have the joy and the blessing of living with my eldest daughter, her partner, and our three granddaughters. So who are 8, 6, and almost 4. So there is I am younger because I get to be with my grandkids
Yeah.
and yeah, because they just kind of breathe life into me.
Yeah, and that's when seniors really start feeling older, is when they stop interacting with the young people around them and doing
Mhm.
activities that they used to do when they were younger.
Mhm.
I really love that you brought up this three generation household conversation. I kind of planned a little game around that idea. So before we get into that, I wanted to hear what you think is so amazing, being, the older person in a house full of people younger than you.
Well, let's see. We just had the long weekend and had this opportunity to have our first outdoor barbecue and
Okay.
sit outside and enjoy the sun. And after the meal, then the three grand kiddos did a magic show for us. So
Okay.
they just put up a blanket and they would make themselves disappear and reappear in
Yeah.
about 15 different ways of coming up with new ideas.
That's creativity.
Just had us rolling on the ground with what, what how their minds work, with how yeah, innocence of childhood
Yeah.
just can get a whole place alive. So
Yeah. How
super
they
fun.
entertain themselves, I think, is so funny. The things that just come to their minds. rather than like when we feel a little bit bored, we'll just, you know, go on our phone or whatever. But like kids haven't really lost that creativity yet, and they make giant scenes in their heads. That's something I want to get back to because I haven't had as much fun since I, you know, was a creative kid looking for something to
Okay.
kill time with.
You know, it would really be good for all of us if
Hmm.
we could kind of reach into that kind of way of thinking that yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we have lost over time.
Yeah.
And
That's what
then
they
yeah,
say.
kind of the flip side to that is just with the seniors themselves that
Hmm.
we get to connect with. Wow, how much life does it give when you have opportunity to be around youth who who are just yes, so full of I, I remember the days when I thought I was invincible.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but
No, that'll hurt your back for sure. Yeah.
but for seniors to be around that, it really, like you said, it makes you feel younger. So
Yep, exactly that. So I think this is a perfect segue into the little game I prepared.
dun, dun, dun,
So
dun.
so let me pull this up. Make sure we can all see it nice and big. So there's a lot of people in your household. Who
Okay.
knows what whose items are whose? And aging items sometimes, is a useless thing, but sometimes very useful. Sometimes items are based for people on in different ages. So I want you to guess whose kitchen item in the house this would be. In a three-generation house,
Dun,
who would
dun,
be
dun.
using this item?
Well, it's not me because I've never seen one.
Okay. Try to rationalize. What does it look like? What could it be useful for? Just give us everything.
Well, if you take that thing and flip it around the other way, it could be for picking things up.
Okay.
I never would have thought to use it this way to
Okay.
cut a tomato or a potato or whatever and keep your fingers really safe. So super duper clever.
Yeah.
Uh, do I have to guess which generation I think?
Who do you think would use this?
For this purpose, I would guess that one of my granddaughters would have come up with this solution.
So I think that's super smart. There's a lot of like, don't cut your fingers safe kitchen gadgets for kids. This one is actually a mobility gadget that is marketed towards seniors.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the video when I was like researching items, it was like an old lady who has a bit of like arthritis, carpal tunnel in her
Yeah.
hand, and she can't do the bridge method when she's chopping anymore. So she's got these like tongs with slits in them that make it
Whoa.
make it easy for cutting. So I got you on the first one.
Give me 10 more years and I might have gotten it
Well, now you might have found a purpose for it. So
right.
keep your options open.
Okay.
So this is an item that you would find in the living room. What do you think it is? What's it do? And who is using it?
Uh, Play toys. I have seen similar types of things where they do come together, they do come apart, and it is an opportunity to be super creative in colors that probably are not the ones that I would have gotten for when my kids were little, which probably would have been more primary colors. Um,
Yeah.
so I would guess for the grandkids again for my second guess.
No, and you are completely right in that. And there's a new like trendy wave of minimalist kid
Yeah.
toys that look like decor. Some of them, I think they call them like the beige moms. But there's no beige in here, so these are like just like minimalist moms that would be buying these toys. But that is exactly what you do with them. You build them and you stack them. I've never seen them this cute before. Like I kind of want some. All right, we're on to our last room, the bathroom. I think this one is going to be pretty obvious, but there might be some people in the audience that don't know. So, anyone watching right now, come join in for this last round and see who you think is going to use this item.
All right, you guys give me your some clues so that I get at least one more right here. Um,
Hey, I think it's useful. I really got you on that first one.
this one looks like a razor, where
Mm-hmm.
you would open it up by turning it,
Mm-hmm.
putting in the blade inside, and then closing it. So that would be my guess, would be more the uh, I was going to call it the traditional razor blade. So
Yeah.
shows you what age I am.
Yeah. So I think people, this isn't the straight blade. I don't even know what that is called. I don't even know what this is. So I guess I'm gonna go with traditional too. But I think that it's more targeted towards, uh, men that have been shaving their face for a while. You don't. This
Yeah,
isn't the first razor you get, like to
yeah.
shave your legs when you're like 13 or whatever. So I only the professionals that know what they're doing should have one of these. They look pretty intense.
Please don't try this at home.
Yeah. This is for if you're under 18, have a supervisor with you.
All
Um,
right.
but yeah, you got a 2 out of 3, so good
Hey.
job.
Okay.
I'm glad I got you with that first one though. I thought that was pretty creative. But yeah, cause who's gonna know what random items laying around the house are when there's so many different people interacting all day. So I hope you enjoyed the game, and I hope everyone in the audience did too.
Awesome, sweet.
All right, so now back into business. I
Okay.
want to learn a little bit more about your personal philosophy and values. So, when we talked originally, you mentioned your passion for outdoor activities, traveling, experiencing things from all over the world. So, do these personal interests intersect with your professional work, and does that influence your approach towards community effort?
As a family, we've always valued traveling over, let's say, owning stuff. There's just something about experiences. There's something about curiosity of the way other cultures, other families, other countries do things, um, which are neither right nor wrong, but just really different than perhaps ways that I am familiar with as someone who was born Filipino and ended up being raised in a Canadian context. So that I think there's a value there around curiosity and just always being open to ask questions and to learn more about the way people see and view the world, which is very much a part of me, and then which then gets transferred into the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had the privilege as a family when our kids were 11 and 8 to move to Central Asia, to a country called Uzbek.
Okay.
And um, for sure, life just kind of happened in a very different way
Yeah.
in in this part of the world as compared to parts of the world where I've lived. Um, and it was an amazing experience. It always started with um, not kind of pushing answers from this Westerner who has like a Western way of doing things,
Yeah.
but about learning who people are. They're, in the case of the Uzbeks, incredible generosity, beautiful stories, ways of caring for your little ones. That yeah, that allowed us to change and grow. And then from there, kind of doing that walking alongside of, what how can we support perhaps a community from a socioeconomic level is really, really struggling, where 80% of are unemployed. How can we create opportunities that draw upon the traditions and the cultures of the place where we're at to actually yeah, be a bit of the steps to something better for people.
Yeah, I love that. And we totally live completely different lives based on, just our structure of, where we were raised compared to people on the other side of the world. That's a completely different, priority set, schedule, different traditions. And, I've always found it fascinating to learn about other people's religions. I was never raised religious. So when I went to public school, Catholic school, I've been to so many different schools, and you meet people from all different backgrounds, and religion is something that is so interesting because even though it's different in so many ways, a lot of the same values are shared amongst everybody, and a lot of that is being kind to your neighbor and being
Mhm.
just good to the earth and other people. So I think that that flows through like all different ethnicities and places all over the world. So it's, a blessing to be able to experience that. I
And
would love to travel more. I haven't gotten around much, but I would love to.
and I would encourage people, like, for sure, traveling is just, we will keep doing that as long as we're able to. But also, like, get connected into a community serving organization in town, and particularly one that provides immigrant and multicultural services.
Hmm.
And you will be blown away by, you don't have to travel very far outside of your own community to dive into the richness of other cultures and what people have to offer, and their generosity in sharing their wisdom and knowledge with you, like both ways, not just one way or the other.
That's an amazing thing about living in Canada. So many
Right?
different people from all over the world here in the same place. Like, I'm from Fort McMurray, which is like culturally diverse, but nothing like how it is in Calgary here. But that's a bigger place with more schools, bigger population. So it makes sense that there's going to be more diverse people here because there are more people here in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, here in Abbotsford, next to Metro Toronto and Metro Vancouver, we're identified as the third most ethnically diverse uh, population in all of Canada. So
Yeah.
just the richness of where people come from, yeah, the stories that they bring with them. Sometimes super hard stories. We have the privilege of working alongside refugee claimants as well, and people who have fled places like Afghanistan. So yeah, incredible, beautiful stories.
Do you think that, you're in Abbotsford, the culture of caring for, people of different groups, is that what attracts so many people of different backgrounds to come there? Why do you think Abbotsford is the place that these people are coming to?
Yeah, I think lots of different reasons. It's a growing community. We are right beside the US border. And so
Hmm.
there's access that way. There is an international airport here. It's growing in terms of tech and academic kind of knowledge. Uh, and as there is fewer places in Vancouver or Richmond or Surrey or Coquitlam to grow, then the
You
opportunity
catch some of that
is like
drawback,
here.
yeah.
So yeah, there are attractions that way, but yeah, to that we have Syrian refugees who first arrived here 6 years ago, and they now have halal shops here in town, or yeah, the number of unbelievable kind of ethnic food places. You gotta check it out. It's absolutely worth coming to in terms of the richness, the
You
diversity.
heard it here first, everybody. Go to Abbotsford if you wanna try food from all different places and learn about people from all over the world. Put it on your list for your travel locations. So being so involved in community development, how do you maintain balance in your personal life, being so involved with your family and, the demands of being a CEO for such an organization like Archway?
Hmm. Not easy for me because I'm a driven individual and I'm a bit of a control freak. So,
Yeah.
but I keep really trying.
Mm.
Um, I keep trying to trust in the strength of the team, the wisdom of the team, that um, I can go away for 3 weeks and surprise, surprise, the place is not
It
just
didn't come
standing.
crashing down, yeah.
Well, no, but more than that, it's actually in a better place than when I was.
Maybe you need to take more breaks, is what that's trying to say.
And then you also mentioned family. So I've got family. I've got amazing friends. My church that I'm a part of, just really good people who watch out for me, who keep me accountable to be taking care of my own wellness. um, uh, my board. So, like, nonprofit organizations can only function really well when there's strong governance and then there's strong operations of
Yeah.
the services that you provide. It can't be one or the other. It
Mhm.
really has to be just a beautiful dance, a beautiful orchestra that happens together. And I've got a board who get on my back when I'm not taking care of myself, when I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm not quite on the exercise regime I plan to be on. So yeah, just we love each other and we have a chance to kind of walk out that love with one another.
Yeah. And I appreciate your honesty in that because I feel like even especially at our organization, um, and just where you're involved in such a good cause, it is
Yeah,
hard to not want to, exhaust yourself just to do as much as you can while you can because you love the work, you're passionate about it,
yeah.
but you need your motor to keep running. So that's an issue that our teams definitely run into. So I feel like other people involved in community efforts are feeling that same fire and burning of fire.
Totally true. There's, like, we ask the questions, well, who's going to stand up for um, youth who don't have a place to live?
Yeah.
Who's going to make sure that women in abusive relationships actually have safe people to talk to and who can walk with them through the whole process? Who's going to work with those abusive dads so that the story can change for the next generation? Because unless you're dealing with the full picture, then it will just continue from generation to generation. So, with all of that, with the pressures and the stress of someone's going to do all this,
Yeah.
then it is trusting that someone isn't always pointing this way, but it's that collective piece again of all the different someones who can make this happen. Oh, and there's also counseling. I am just such a proponent for just
Very important.
awesome counseling, of being able to talk through your stuff and with someone who has expertise in that area.
Yeah. And we're social beings. We got to talk about we just have to talk period. And you don't want to keep those things inside, especially when, you know, you are involved in other people's lives. You don't want to, reflect that back onto them because we are energy gobblers for sure as humans. We eat each other's energy all the time. Um but yeah, exactly. I'm right with you on that. And I wanted to offer the audience an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have for you in listening to our conversation, so that we could hear, some of their voices. Um, but I would like to ask you some more, you know, uh, fantastical story or questions. So if you could teleport to a different place right now, where would you go and why?
Oh,
At any point in time, too. I'll throw that in there.
sweet. um, like I said, I'm from the Philippines, and
Mm-hmm.
and I moved when I was 9, so it's my birth language. It is uh, kind of the core of my heart,
Yeah.
but I moved as a kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my Tagalog when I speak Filipino is a a 9-year-old level.
It's
Um,
abysmal.
So, I have a fascination with, like, I remember the first time that I read a history book, but it was a history book that didn't come from a North American perspective. It
Okay.
came from an Asian perspective.
I bet that was very different from, a Western history book.
Yes. So the history of the world from the lens of particularly Southeast Asia, places like the Philippines or Korea or Japan. And I would love to be able to teleport myself
Okay.
back in time to just understand what made us Filipinos. What are the factors, including colonization and helping to understand the deeper understanding of colonization would help to understand colonization as it's
Yeah.
currently happening now here
Hmm.
on Turtle Island. Um, but even more than that, why Filipinos are such resilient people, like people who smile and sing and dance and believe that no matter what hardship there is, there's something else out there and just keep pressing on, believing in that. So yeah, I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, and I think it's just so fascinating to hear other people's perspective because it's not the quieter voices don't really make their way into the books that we read as much because we're loud and dominating people that were putting their words in, um, which kind of smothered that. And I think it's amazing that you would want to go back to the Philippines. And I have always had such a, great love for the family oriented culture that Filipino families have. In Fort McMurray, I already mentioned, like, we have some diversity, but nothing like in the big city. And my parents would work all the time, and I was so welcomed to all the different Filipino events that would
No
happen.
way!
Yeah, I used to be on the newsletter and everything.
Ow!
I went to, so I danced my whole life. I went to one of my friends' birthday parties, and I was just, chatting with all the aunties and everyone. I was like making friends, and then they were like, "Piper, we're gonna put you on the newsletter." So then I got an invite to every Filipino event that was
Yes.
in the city. Uh, so that'll tell you that if you're there and you're ready to sing your karaoke and you're ready to eat and interact with people, that
There you
you're
go.
completely welcome in into their events. So shout out to the Filipino families that let me in way back
Did,
when.
did you ever learn about tinikling, the dance tinikling?
I'm sure I've done it. I had no idea what was going on,
You
but
gotta
I
check it out.
participated in all the dancing. But you tell me a little bit about it. Tell me about it.
You have two people facing each other with two
Okay.
bamboo sticks.
Yes,
Click,
this is coming
click,
back to
tap,
me.
click, click, tap.
Mhm.
And then someone is dancing, jumping in without getting their ankles.
Yeah.
And then you've got two more this way that are doing the same thing. And now you're dancing around all of those different bamboo sticks. It's
Yeah.
quite intricate. It's it, I
From what I remember, I
do
was
it,
not
but
very good at it for sure. I was on pole duty for the rest of the night. It was not good.
all right.
But yeah, so amazing. And while we're talking about different dances and different cultures, um, another one that sticks out to me is learning Bollywood dancing,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's Indian, right? And so fun. It's so fun. Your knees will hurt if you didn't warm up, but that's another one that I love. Super fun.
Totally.
And
Sandra is
amazing.
exhausting.
Oh, so tiring. I don't know how they do it in the heat. I could never. So we got a great question from the audience that I think you'll appreciate. So we need to fuel our bodies because we're big meat suits that we need to eat to be able to do things. And in your travels, what was some of the craziest, most interesting foods that you've tried? that have stuck out to you?
Yeah, I've gotten to try many things that I've never tried before, and I'm a kind of person who will try
We'll try
anything.
anything at least once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and most of the time it's amazing. It's
Mhm.
just one time where it wasn't so amazing.
Okay.
The sheep in Uzbekistan have this big waddle of fat on the back.
Okay. Is it like full of water like a camel?
It is fat. Just it's
Okay.
and it's expensive. So
Okay.
as a guest, I was once given the honor of getting 2 pounds of sheep fat,
Okay.
mutton fat, uh, to eat kind of in a boiled form. And
Okay.
huge, gigantic chunks, like ice cube chunks.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't going down too
Yeah.
easily. But I just there was such it was such an act of love on the part of
Yeah.
the family that I ate the whole thing,
Good for you.
went to the bathroom for the next four
Yeah.
days. But I, I I can say I tried it. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing about different cultures. You don't know where people put the value in some things, and like you said, it was an honor to get that piece of fat. So you had to appreciate it and bite the bullet, because
literally.
someone else wanted to eat that
Yeah.
mutton fat. So you were the lucky one. And there's so much flavor in fat. Like that's like fat is awesome. But I totally get you on the texture aspect. I've never been like a great with the like super gelatinous texture. Um, but hey, at least you tried it. I'd try it too if I was offered it. So I don't know if I'd be able to eat the whole thing, but I just ate, guys. I could only have a little bit.
All right.
I have another question for you. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
Hmm. Um, when I was younger, I thought it was to be able to that it's your teleport question. I thought it was to be able to cross time and
Mm-hmm.
go backwards, to be able to correct mistakes
Mm-hmm.
or to go forwards, and yeah, just kind of find find the lottery ticket that's going to win so that I can win it. Um, just I realize as I age that the mistakes that I make are part of who makes me who I am today,
Yeah.
and that there is strength in me, in us being able to make a mistake and not keep making the mistake
Yeah.
over again, but learn something from it and change and be a different person as a result of learning from my not so smart moves in my life. So yeah, that one's not so big anymore for me as far as a superpower. Um, I'm having a tough time trying to find an answer that's not just like your world peace type of things.
Yeah, but that is exactly where your mind goes being involved in community efforts. I always pick telekinesis and be able to do anything with my mind, but that could help the community too, I guess. But to what you were saying about going back and changing things. Um, so the superhero answer to that is you never know uh what you're gonna end up changing, and even if you go back and change it, you don't know how you're not gonna live in the same present or future that you were. So that's what they say about changing things in the past. And then real life, uh, no better teacher than your own mistakes, right? So,
Totally. Yeah.
so things happen for a reason. They say that for a reason too. Whether you think it's cheesy or fake or not, it's true, and you can't go back unless you have the ability to go back in time. So you better just live with it and learn from it, right?
Piper, you remind me as well, like that butterfly effect type of thing, that the encouragement for today and for people who are listening to this is you have incredible butterfly effect. One little act of generosity, one act of kindness, one act of thinking about somebody else and how you can put a smile on their face has huge impact. That we can never underestimate the value of all of these one little acts and how powerful those can be.
Yeah. And those people observing good things happen make them want to be involved in doing good things too. And a great example for that is the chain of I'm gonna pay for the guy behind me, and then it continues until like they shut down for the end of the day, because that's like, well, the guy in front of me paid for my food, I have to pay for the lady behind me's food, and then it just keeps going. So people are impacted by other people's good efforts. So we just got to be loud and proud about the good things we're doing.
Keep doing it out there, folks.
Yeah. So let that motivate everybody out there. Um, Someone asked if they could watch me do a Bolly dance one day. I totally will. We'll set it up. We'll do like
Why one day? What about right now?
I'm afraid we don't have enough time for the
Oh!
production that's necessary. You should have got me 20 minutes ago.
Okay,
Sorry.
ask that question sooner next time.
Yeah, any activities you need me to do, you have to say it before the halfway mark. Um, but I wanted to ask you a few last things before we end for the day. I've been loving where our conversation has been taking place, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about what advice you would have for the youth out there. And if you had advice to go to a different age group, let's hear about it. But usually it's the kids that are listening.
Okay. Um, I, I think don't wait until uh, you're an adult. Don't wait till you're grown up to feel like you're going to make a difference. The power of who you are, what you can do today, and it's not in those superhero acts. It's in the step by step, everyday type of things. Um, could be making that difference to the people around you. Um, I think about like we have youth who continue to be a part of programs even when they age out or even when they moved on to something else. They continue to be part of the things that made a difference to them here. So we have a place where people who've been in foster care or more group home type of settings all their lives, a place where they can stay until they turn 19,
Yeah.
um, and and so that there can actually be success in making it after you age out of the ministry and ministry support. And this stuff that we do with Autumn House is unbelievable. It's super basic, learning how to cook, learning how to do banking. But if there's stuff that you already know, like maybe you are amazing on a skateboard, or you know how to play an instrument, and share that with somebody else, and what amazing impact something like that can have on somebody else's life. Also, like as I'm thinking about it, um, one of the things that I've done in my life is just kind of played around with, okay, what words would best describe me? And I just kind of live with a word for a few days, maybe like a week or so, and then try the next word.
Yeah.
Uh, a word might be um, create space. But
Mhm.
I like to create space for other people. Or another one might be love, or
Mhm.
another one might be take risks.
Mhm.
And I just try that around for a few days and say, okay, is that at the core of who I am? And then after a while, I kind of just landed on the word that kind of best describes me, and the word that I landed on was presence. That what's important to me is that the person that I'm with at this particular time is the one that's really important to focus on, rather than being on my cell phone or thinking about the next thing I need to do. Is to
Yeah.
just really pay attention to this person who's right in front of me right now. So yeah, I would encourage youth to just play around with different words of what describes who you are. Is it creative? Is it musical? Is it beauty? You know, just kind of just check out different things like that. Find out who you are and run with it. So
Yeah, I love that. There's so many things about what you just said that stuck out to me. I think I'm gonna start with that presence piece. And I can tell in the way that, when we've talked today and when we first met, that you are always very engaged in the conversation. It feels great to have a conversation with you. I hope everyone else can feel that out there. But you really do have made me feel important just speaking with you right now. And I think that that is something that is missing in our society, as, like you said, people on their cell phones, as, social media has become a bigger thing. And, accelerated by COVID, where everyone was so isolated. That is something that, we're losing as a people. And like I said, we're social beings. We're not meant to, you know, be lonely in a room full of people.
mm,
And that's something that a lot of people um, feel and, project these days. And, you know, social anxiety is really tied into that. So I think that's really important. And, so when you're in conversations with people, like, just try to think, how would you feel if they were on their phone the whole time? Or, what's the point even coming out and being in each other's space if you're not going to be interacting with them? So I think that's really important. And I think that you are a perfect example of the effects that it has. And then about, yes, not waiting till you are older to be involved in, your community. I love that because there's nothing more motivating than seeing someone younger than you doing more than you, in a way that you are completely capable of doing, as well. So, youth invigorate other people to do more things. So, if you have the capacity, try to be involved and see how many people are going to, pick up on that and incorporate that into their lives too. Yeah, that was good connection there.
all right.
That really got something for me.
Hey Piper, by the way, I love what you do. I love what Love Caravan does and just encourage you to keep taking your strength and your passions and spreading it out to other people as well.
Yep, that's the goal. Thank you so much, for even coming today and engaging in this conversation with me. I know that I have many things that I took away from this, but I also just was here and I enjoyed to be a part of it. So thank you for dedicating some time to us and what we do here with Boundary Breakers.
The pleasure was mine, so thank you.
I have one final question for you today before we
Okay.
wrap up. And I'd love to know who is someone from your network or that you've met or, have come into acknowledgement with that you would like to nominate to be a potential guest speaker for Boundary Breakers.
Oh,
Even if you don't want to say their names or anything right now, but what type of person are you thinking of that would be useful and would have something amazing to say that people would benefit from hearing?
okay. Um, I think we can talk about this more in terms of lots of different people who would have some amazing things to be able to just share from their own experiences. The specific person that I'm thinking about right now is someone who has just committed her life um, to creating opportunities for youth.
Okay.
And whether those are youth who have just had really hard stories, and how it doesn't always have to be hard, that
Yeah.
stories can change, to uh, just all kinds of fun programs like well, we one of them is about taking the youth that even like can't be referred to anyone else because they've just run out of options,
Yeah.
and um, bringing them into a place where it starts with learning how to play guitar or playing the drums, or practicing, exercising, singing, which then becomes being part of a band, which then becomes singing in front of 1,000 people and cutting a a record, a CD, a disc on of your own music that you've written. So just
Mm.
and then alongside that, having the safety to be able to tell your story and yeah, what's happened to you over in your life. So yeah, I'm thinking of somebody who um, can just share a lot of wisdom on that kind of stuff.
Heck yeah. And I think that's super important too. And, just to connect with more like minded people who are looking to be involved and help their community around them. Those are all the types of people that we are looking for. So, as we've talked about so many things today, is there any final words you'd like to leave our audience with today, Rod?
Um, I think that stories count.
Mm-hmm.
So take the time to share your story with others. Take the time to listen to other people's stories, and that curiosity thing of ask questions, find out more. Like take don't take the first thing that you hear as the end of that story, but maybe that's just the starter. And then from something that you ask, it leads to this and it leads to that. So yeah, make a practice of valuing your story and valuing other people's stories, and how it can weave you together.
Yeah. That's the best part about, not even talking with people that you know, but talking with strangers too. You never
Mm.
know where the conversation is going to go. And even just sparking up a small conversation may have the biggest impact on their day and, could really pull someone out of, some bad places. So I think that's a testament. Go out, connect with some people, just being active in, thinking about who we are as people and what we can be doing, I think is, really beneficial and easy to implement into our everyday lives, right?
Yeah, there you go. You said it well.
So we've laughed today, we've gotten real, we've talked about important, overlooked aspects of community. We've, put Abbotsford onto our travel list of places we gotta go.
Hey, check
Um,
it out.
I had an amazing time. I hope that the people in the audience had a great time. We had a lot of interaction in the crowd, so I hope people come back and listen into this conversation and are able to take something from it the same way that I have. So, thank you, Rod, for coming and giving us some of your time today to just do what humans do and chat.
Thanks for making it happen.
All right. Well, I look forward to, being as involved as we can be in Archway or any other
And
events you guys are doing. If you ever need anything, Elsie is here, and I'm sure you guys uh, offer the same thing with as many organizations you work with. So I look forward to the next time I get to chat with you.
thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good
Thank you
day.
so much to our audience. Oh, what were you going to
Yeah,
say?
that's
Oh,
it. Thank you.
perfect. Well, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for coming out today. It was great.
Bye now.